Welcome to the castle, everybody. This is Nightsaber Z42, and this is Character Vault, where I go through the entire process of creating a character from start to finish in various RPG systems. And we got a special one today because it's not quite something different, but it's also something very much different. Now, over the past month or so, or a couple of months, I've been going over the different Essence 20 systems or core rulebooks. That would be Power Rangers, Transformers, and G.I. Joe. And today we're going to be taking a look at the Field Guide to Action and Adventure, specifically creating a character that uses two of the franchises. So either Power Rangers mixed with G.I. Joe or Power Rangers mixed with Transformers or any combination of those. So what do we actually need for this character creation process? Well, obviously we're going to need the Field Guide to Action and Adventure. It's got a lot of tips on how to combine the different franchises and what you need from the different sources. And you're going to need the core rulebooks for either Power Rangers, Transformers, or G.I. Joe, whichever ones that you actually plan on combining, if any. So let's pop open the book and see what we're going to do. So the crossover character creation chapter is quite a fairly dense chapter. It's about creating a character, obviously, from different core rulebooks and implementing them in different settings or franchises. And it's not really a do this, then this, then this. If you're into that, you're going to need the core rulebooks for whichever franchises you're going to be looking for. But what I do like about this is that it tells you all of the different influences, origins, and things like that, and how they could be applied to the different franchises. So we're actually going to be skipping a lot of this because we're going to go ahead and start with our character concept. Now, I think that this part of the process is very important. I usually don't mess around with character concepts a whole lot. I tend to let the mechanics drag me into whatever character I want to play as. But for this one, I think that you're going to want to know what kind of a character you want first, and then start applying the mechanics to fit that. And so for this character, I knew that I wanted to do something that combined Transformers with Power Rangers. The two franchises seem like a perfect fit because Transformers transform into vehicles, and they're essentially giant robots, and Power Rangers eventually get the ability to control Zords. So I wanted to play around with those two aspects of the franchise and combine them, and just have like a Transformer type character that could eventually transform into a Zord or something along that nature. So for this, in addition to our character sheet, which, by the way, there isn't really a character sheet for combining, so you're going to have to choose one of the character sheets and then modify it. But in terms of core rulebooks, we're going to be looking at the Power Rangers core rulebook for a lot of our stuff in this specific character creation video, and we'll be taking a look at some of the Transformer stuff as well. Not so much from that source book, as a lot of the options that I picked rely heavily on being a Power Ranger. So let's talk about influences real quick. Influences are the things that kind of have dictated your character throughout their life. And there are some new crossover influences in this book. So let's take a look at some of them. We have Cybertronian military, which allows you to combine G.I. Joe with Transformers. We have Cybertronian with attitude, which allows you to combine Transformers with Power Rangers. Then we have the diplomat, the escapist, the hometown hero, the investigator, nobility, skeptic, and stargazer. So a lot of different influences to use, and of course we still have the same, you pick an influence, you gain a perk, you can choose up to 3, but for your second and third influence you do get a hang up. So what we're going to do, since I have my character concept, we're going to create a Transformer Power Ranger, we're going to choose Cybertronian with attitude. So Cybertronians don't age and mature in the same way as humans. When a human's personality changes or they suddenly develop and fully commit to a new outlook, it's often written off as a phase or part of growing up. Cybertronians don't change their behavior as often and aren't as quick to dismiss a radical outlook as a lack of maturity. Some Cybertronian examples are Beachcomber, Hot Rod, and Wheelie. Our influence perk is you gain the origin benefit of a Power Rangers origin, though you can't choose an origin that provides a general perk as its origin benefit. You must have an origin with an alt mode to choose this influence. And of course, since this is a Transformer style influence, they do have some suggested potential hangups. Now remember, in the Transformers core rulebook, hangups are actually towards the end of the influence chapter. You actually get to pick which hangup you want. And since this is our first influence, we don't need to worry about the hangup. But if I was, I probably would have chosen impulse. Now, origins and influences and roles, they're all different across the different franchises. So you have a whole lot to play with. And since we have the Cybertronian with attitude, we get to pick an origin benefit of one of the Power Rangers origins. And so we're going to choose popular. You were born to be raised up on a social pedestal by your peers and looked up at by the rest of the masses. You weren't necessarily prom king or prom queen, but your name was assuredly on the ballot. Everyone knows who you are, and the majority of people think you are a pretty okay person. There are benefits to being the cool kid, and hopefully you don't take them for granted. We only get the actual origin benefit. We don't get anything else because we'll actually choose a different origin later. Our origin benefit is, are you who I think you are? You have learned, possibly just accidentally, how to use your popularity as a method to get the results you are looking for in social circles. Whenever you are in a position to be recognized as a local social celebrity, you can always consider yourself as having an applicable specialization in deception, persuasion, or streetwise. That can be pretty powerful. So it already looks like we're going to be a very sociable person. So Cybertronian with attitude is our first influence. We're actually going to take a second influence. Since we're an alien robot from a different planet, I think it only makes sense that we choose the not from around here influence. Whether an alien from another planet, a traveler from a different temporal era, or perhaps even created in a lab, you didn't grow up like normal humans do. This gives you a different outlook on humanity and some distinct opinions on your own culture. But it also means you bring new and fresh concepts or even abilities to your team that an average person would not. Our influence perk is, you gain an edge on skill tests outside of combat where your distinct upbringings or unusual background comes into play. You know one additional language. Our hang-up this time around, because this is our second influence, is you suffer a snag on all social-based skill tests about naturally understanding human beings. That definitely says it all right there. And for our suggested characteristics or our background bond, I'm going to choose the first one. I want to someday show my friends where I come from. Also, I probably would do something along the lines of, about being the most popular, cool kid that these kids have ever seen. But it's best not to overdo it right now. Next, we get to go over some new origins. Now remember, you have all of the origins from Power Rangers, Transformers, and G.I. Joe to play around with, but Field Guide actually adds a few more origins. So we have things like the android, the gridthropologist, the pretender, and the strategist. I think it goes without saying, since we're a Transformer who's kind of posing as an Earthling, we're going to take pretender. When searching for a disguise to help them blend in with the population, most Cybertronians search for machines that resemble their size and robotic physiology. As a pretender, you hide your robotic physiology, aiming to blend in with the organic population. You adapt most of your bot mode chassis to resemble bulky clothes made of synthetic fabrics, replicating organic material only where necessary, mostly to create a passable face. This can lead to unsettling alt modes if care isn't taken to hide your skin and hair inside your vehicle shape. I think that is such a really cool concept, and we're going to roll with it. So our Cybertronian Power Ranger is going to be a pretender, where his bot mode is going to be a human teenager, jock probably, popular kid. And his bot mode is of course going to be his normal skin as a Transformer. So we get a couple things with this origin. Each origin gives you an essence score increase, origin skill, starting health, and some languages. For our essence score increase, we get to upgrade our social essence by 1. For our origin skill, we have increase one of the following skills by 1 or gain specialty in that skill: deception, persuasion, or streetwise. So make sure that when you choose your social essence +1 that you also choose one of those 3 skills. Don't get them confused with others, but chances of that happening are fairly minimal. Our starting health is 2, and we can speak Cybertronian, our adopted Earth language, which will be English, plus 1 additional language for every 2 points of social you possess. So at the end of the day, we'll be able to speak 4 languages. We also get an origin benefit, lifelike. Because your bot mode is your disguise, abilities that give benefits for hiding while in alt mode, such as for the Allspark's infiltration bonus, apply to your bot mode instead. When in bot mode, you gain an edge on skill tests to pass as an organic life form. To pass as an organic life form, you can only choose hidden integrated hard points. Makes sense to me. So, while we're in the Pretender bot mode, we gain the following benefits. Our movement ground speed is 30 feet. Our size is going to be common, could be small or common. We're going to be a teenager, so I think it only makes sense that we're common. And then we have fine motor skills. The additional joints and opposable digits gained in bot mode allow you to use tools and manipulate objects in ways that are impossible in other alt modes, such as being a car. We also have the Pretender alt mode. So you gain the following additional or alternate benefits when you convert into your alt mode. Our movement ground speed is 45 feet, or our base ground movement can be 30 feet, and we have an aerial or aquatic movement. For now, we're just going to choose the standard 45 feet. Our size is going to be common, although you could elect to do small. So you can be either a small or a common. Our crew, we don't actually have crew capacity because we're a teenage boy. And then we have some fire points, which is actually 0 because we're not a vehicle or anything like that. So that's actually all the things that we get with our origin. Now we actually get to choose our role. This is probably the most exciting part, but first there is one new role in the field guide, and that is the envoy. So, studious and diplomatic, envoys prefer to solve problems with thoughts and words over fists and weapons. Despite their tendency to be combat adverse, envoys often find themselves in the thick of battle. That's because they believe that communication breaks down, lead to conflicts, and that reopening communication through negotiation or objective reporting ends them. So this would be a perfect character or a perfect role for that diplomatic type leader that we see in so many other RPGs. So I'm really glad that they added it here. Although there's also some different focus or foci that allow you to also combine them with other franchises, like your envoy could know about the G.I. Joes and Power Rangers and things like that. So you actually get to choose which one you know. Since we're creating a Cybertronian Power Ranger, I was looking through all of the different options, but Black Ranger definitely speaks to what I'm trying to accomplish here. He is the comedian, he's not the leader, I would say, although it does kind of list the Black Ranger as being a leader type, but very charismatic. That's a great word, charismatic, and also strong when he needs to be. That definitely states what I want this character to be. So we're going to choose the Black Ranger as our starting role, and this is from, of course, the Power Rangers book. So what do we get by being the Black Ranger? Well, we get a essence score increase of strength +1 and social +2. Now, I'm going to state this right here, but in our training, it does list the 2 skills that you get from those 2 essence scores. Normally, when you take an essence score, you immediately get to upgrade a rank that's underneath that essence. But here, we don't really get that option. It's in the starting skill ranks. And those 2 starting skill ranks is +1 might and +2 performance. So, very cool. We do get personal power regeneration of 2 per day, and our power capacity is +2 per every 5 levels. We have training with light and medium armors, which will be important for calculating our toughness later on. And we actually start with some grid equipment, which is a wrist communicator, power morpher, blade blaster, and a versatile power weapon. In addition to that, we also get the perk, it's Morphin Time. Starting at first level by summoning the energy within you through the Power Morpher and saying the words, "It's Morphin Time!" As a standard action, you are enveloped with a stylized shell of Morphin Grid energy that serves as your armor, grants you access to your power-based weapons, and many other abilities like the ability to create an explosion behind you. Look that up, that was in RPM. While morphed, the following traits and features apply. Your toughness bonus is determined by your armor training, +1 for light, +2 for medium, +4 for heavy, +6 for ultra heavy. All of your jump distance maximums are tripled. As a free action, you can summon any single power-based weapon to your hands, and when reduced to 0 health, you may choose to avoid defeat by automatically returning to your normal form, unconscious, and at 1 health. We also get the heart of the team, so beginning at first level, your natural mirth and positivity can be used to boost your teammates and other allies with just a few words. Whether in the heat of battle or at the peak of a difficult obstacle, your clever words can make the difference between failure and success. As a free action, you can apply a upshift 1 to the roll of any ally within 60 feet of you that can understand what you are saying. This costs 1 of your quips and speeches per long rest. As noted on the table above, the value of this die rolled increases to the listed amount at 5th, 10th, and 15th level. And quips and speeches is just a thing that we get with the heart of the team, which is actually listed in the table from before. And that's actually all that we get with the Black Ranger role. Now, one of the last things that I do in the character creation process is actually determine what my essence scores are, and then my skill points. And if you've watched any of my Transformer videos or my G.I. Joe character creation videos, then you know why I do this. I find it a little bit more helpful to see the breakdown of everything that I'm getting. For instance, I know that I'm getting a +1 to strength from my role. And I also know that I'm getting a +3 to social, 1 for my origin and 2 for my role. I find this very helpful to keep things broken down so it's very organized and I don't really miss or add any extra points accidentally. In the beginning, we get 12 points to spend across 4 different essences: strength, speed, smarts, and social. And since this is a bit of an advanced guide, I'm going to go ahead and skip the whole explanation for that and just go ahead and list what my essence scores are. I'm going to give 4 to my strength, 3 to speed, 2 to smarts, and another 3 to social. So my totals will be 5 for strength, 3 for speed, 2 for smarts, and 6 for social. Now remember, the amount of skills I get is reflective of the essence score, so I get 5 skill points to play around with, although some of them have already been allocated due to things like role and origins. So for strength, I'm going to take 1 in brawn, 2 in conditioning, and I'll take another point in might, bringing that up to 2. Since my speed is 3, that means I get 3 skill points. I'm going to put 1 point into driving, 1 point into initiative, and 1 point into targeting. For smarts, I have 2, so that's 2 skill points, and I'm going to put both of them into culture. And for social, I get 6 points to allocate. 2 of them will go into deception, although I'm going to put 1 extra point into a specialization for distraction, and I'm going to put 2 points into persuasion. Then I'm going to put 1 point into streetwise and bring the total up to 2. I'll also mention that my performance is at 2 for my role. The last step that I'll go over here, as it actually relates to character creation, is to describe your character. And I usually just pick a few keywords that best describe my character that are reflective of the essence scores that I've allocated. And so I thought of 4 this time around: cool, athletic, popular-esque, and gullible all fit this character. So here's a side note, a little edit in this video. I kind of made a Troy Bolton from High School Musical. I hadn't really thought about that until I was going over some of the other intricate details of this character, and that's kind of what came up. So in fact, that's what we're going to do. We're making a Zac Efron Transformer Power Ranger hybrid. And so for his equipment, we're going to have Blade Blaster, which I would like to have integrated into his chassis when he's in bot mode. We have Versatile Power Weapon, which is going to be like an axe. and then we have a risk communicator. So the actual last step in the character creation process is to form the team, and these are just questions that are better saved when you actually have your group together. You just ask them each other questions and you figure things out, and you create bonds with those other characters. And so here we have Roy Colton, the Transformer Power Ranger. He is a pretender. He is also the Black Ranger at level 1. He knows Cybertronian and English and 2 other languages that we have not determined yet because, well, we don't know what kind of a setting we're playing with. We have Cybertronian with Attitude as our influence, with Are You Who I Think You Are as our origin perk from that influence, as well as Not From Around Here. Our personal power is 2. Our base movement is 30 with other movement of 45 whenever we're in alt mode. And we have health at 4. Our strength is 5 with a D2 in brawn, plus 2 in conditioning, and a D4 in might. Our speed is 3 with D2 in driving, initiative of 2, and a targeting of 2. Our smarts is 2 with a culture of D4, and our social is 6 with a D4 in deception, with a specialization in distraction, a D4 in performance, and a D4 in persuasion, and a D4 in streetwise. Now, something I didn't go over is the defenses: toughness, evasion, willpower, and cleverness. So for each of those, it's basically 10 plus the essence score plus any perks you have plus armor that applies equals that score when you're morphed. And so for our strength, if I'm wearing medium armor, like I have listed on my character sheet, we'll have a total of 17 toughness. That means the enemy has to roll above a 17 in order to actually hit us. Our evasion is going to be a straight up 13. Our willpower will be 12, so not very good. And our cleverness will be 16. And I guess I should say that those are all when we're morphed, although I would also opt to make that a little bit different depending on if I'm in my bot mode and things like that, because we're a transformer, we're already made up of different things, sturdier things than humans are. So definitely work with your GM to formalize all those intricate details. I just also want to say that it was very fun to create a character using the field guide. And there are so many different ways that this specific character, Roy Colton, could have gone. He could have been a Cybertronian with attitude that transforms into a Porsche or Lamborghini. He could have been a rebellious transformer, pretender, and things like that. And some of you also had some pretty cool ideas too, from Dark Rangers to a transformer who could transform into a railgun and work for G.I. Joe. And some of you even went above and beyond the crossovers to make like an Evangelion or Pacific Rim viable with this system. That was very cool. So thank you guys for commenting on that specific post. And that's actually going to do it for now. Feel free to leave a comment down below. Give this video a huge thumbs up to support the series, and I will see you guys in the next video.